Hello, everyone. Once again, I'm Jashira Robles, the Director of High School Placement at Community Day Charter Public Schools. I know this has been an unusual year for all of us in many ways. We understand that choosing a high school is an important decision in every student's life. CDCPS wants to make sure that both students and parents continue to receive enough information to help make the most informed decision possible. We hope this virtual presentation is able to answer some of your questions regarding the high school admissions process and expectations, as well as provide you with additional guidance as you formulate your final list of schools to apply to, based on your vision and as you factor in your child's report card, entrance exams, and tuition and financial aid. So we understand all parents want the best high school for their child, but there are a lot of factors to take into consideration because this will look different for every student. During our individual placement meeting, we had the opportunity to review and discuss what are some of your child's strengths and any areas in need of improvement. As you work on finalizing that final high school list, you will still want to take into consideration those areas of strength as well as those weaknesses. Is your child meeting or exceeding expectations academically? Are they consistently turning in assigned work and homework? Is it their exemplary behavior or is conduct a concern? You will also want to consider what type of schools should my child apply to. And this will also look different. You can consider local, parochial schools or public school options, as well as independent boarding schools, depending on your child's report card and many other areas. You will also want to have a balanced list, and this should include reach, middle of the road, and safety schools. You may want to consider your child's interests, and for many of our parents, they will also have to consider costs. Fortunately, all of our parents can apply for financial aid through the school itself, but also through CDCPS. Tuition paying schools will always cost a parent something, although applications for financial aid as well as the CDCPS aid, if eligible based on income, will be of help. There are three different types of schools that families could consider. Many of us are familiar with public schools. These are schools supported by public funds. So for example, Lawrence High, Methuen High School, Greater Lawrence Technical School. There's also Abbott Lawrence Academy, a college preparatory school inside Lawrence High. There is also another option that for the schools that are part of the school choice program. This allows a parent to enroll his or her child in a school district that is not the child's home district. Because of space limitations, not all public schools accept out-of-district students under this program. Next, we have parochial schools. These are schools that are affiliated with a religious organization and whose curriculum includes a general religion class, in addition to those core subjects such as science, math, or language arts. Last, we have independent schools. Independent schools own, govern, and finance themselves. So as opposed to public schools that are funded through the government or parochial schools that are supported by a parish, most of their funds come from tuition or either fundraising. While creating your high school list, you will also want to make sure that you include reach for. So, for example, depending on a student's academic profile, a reach for school could be a governor's academy. For another student, it could be Notre Dame Cristo Rey. A reach school by definition is a school where the applicant's academic profile is not as strong as 50% of students who are typically admitted. Middle of the road schools. As with any school, there are no guarantees, but it's not unreasonable to believe your child will get in based on their overall profile. Again, for some students, a middle of the road could be a parochial school, while for others, it could be a vocational school. And then you'd also want to make sure that you include a safety option. For instance, a public school in case financial aid is not what the parents are hoping for. Financial aid could play a big part in your decision once your child has been accepted. Financial assistance can cover educational expenses, including tuition and fees, room and board. Every school has its own policy about who receives financial aid, what types of aid are awarded, and how much aid a particular family will receive. In most cases, the financial aid office cannot tell you if your family will qualify for financial aid until you submit an application. To determine your eligibility for financial aid, you must submit an application form and financial statements. There is no income limit that automatically makes your family ineligible for financial aid. Financial aid officers will take into account your income, assets, and expenses, including any additional costs for other children. Bottom line, if you feel your family cannot afford to pay the full cost, regardless of your income, it's worth the effort to submit a financial aid application. The majority of parochial schools have partnered with FACTS. I will provide the website for the FACTS application for those parents interested in applying to a parochial school and filling out that application. The majority of independent schools use the SSS, School and Student Services Family Portal. This website will also be shared at the end of this presentation. Are there out-of-pocket expenses beyond tuition? There are. And many of these schools will provide additional support, whether it's with fee waivers to waive the application fee, or it could be additional support, let's say with assistance with covering the cost of books and supplies. Some schools even have an iPad lending program. Additionally, the CDCPS provide financial assistance? If so, when? So yes, Community Day also has its own financial aid process to help bridge the gap in financial aid for parents. We follow a very similar process to the high school financial aid decision-making process. To determine your eligibility for aid, you will also need to complete an application form from our school. The application forms are typically mailed out in February, and I cannot emphasize this enough to parents. You should prepare to file taxes as early as possible to meet financial aid deadlines.
Thank you again for joining us. My name is Caprice Santiago, and I'm the Senior Operations Manager for the network and the Operations Manager for Prospect Upper School. I want to talk to you today about PEGS, which is our report card, and attendance, and how these two factor in greatly in the decisions that are being made during the high school placement process. High schools will consider and review the December report card for 8th grade and all of the 7th grade report card for the entire year of 7th grade. Some schools do also ask for 6th grade report cards. 8th grade report cards for March and June will be sent after acceptances are received or if the student is waitlisted at a school. Attendance is a big factor when high schools are making acceptance decisions. So it is very important that students maintain good attendance. High schools want to make sure a student will be engaged in their classes, participate, and be part of their class discussions. But if a student is continuously late, absent, or dismissed in 7th and 8th grade, it brings up red flags. I know it can be hard to schedule appointments around school hours, but if you have the opportunity, please do so before or after school. Overall, high school admissions representatives pay close attention to grades, participation in class, and teacher comments on report cards. They want to know that the student they will be accepting is also active in their own community, in participating in extracurricular activities, and engaged in community service. I know it's difficult right now finding community service opportunities, but reach out to your local centers. There are plenty of ways to help right from your home. One of the biggest targets that is closely looked at is the conduct grade. High schools want to see that an applicant will behave in their classroom setting, not be disruptive, and be a respectful school community member. You should have all received your child's progress report in your email. This would be a great time to reach out to your school if you see any concerns academically or behaviorally. I spoke a little bit about this in the previous slide, but let's talk in more detail on what is being looked at on your child's PEG, their report card. You have a copy of your child's progress report, which is an update on your child prior to grades closing at the end of November for term 1. Read through the report card and your 7th grade report card and ask, is your child participating in class? Is your child raising their hand, asking and answering questions? Does my child have exceptional work ethic? Are all assignments completed? Does the student go above and beyond? And does the student work well independently? Is the student consistent with their grades and conduct? Is there a big difference in academic grades from 7th to 8th grade? Is the student a leader and represents as a model student? Are the benchmark scores continuously high? And does the student take initiative? Now let's talk about areas of improvement. Socializing and distractions will continuously be noted on report cards or progress reports by our staff. Even through Zoom, there are students who manage to distract others or are continuously distracted at home. If you can, move your child to a quiet space free of distractions. Missing independent work. Students have from 1 to 4 p.m. to turn in their independent work while with their teacher on Zoom. The teacher is there for questions and extra help. Participation is greatly encouraged. You can still raise your hand to answer questions, even through Zoom. As I mentioned before, red flags are always conduct, which is a student's behavior, and attendance. If you can, try to schedule medical and dental appointments before and after school.
Now let's talk about admissions testing. So the two most common admissions tests required by independent schools are the SSAT and the ISEA, have both announced new at-home testing options to help accommodate test takers. CDCPS has covered the test for 8th grade students applying to independent schools this year, and students were able to take the SSAT on October 17th as long as they registered by our school deadline of October 1st. Then we have the HSPT, the high school placement test. This is required by the majority of parochial schools. Parents are responsible for registering the student to take this test. There are at-home testing options available as well. Some schools, such as Notre Dame Cristo Rey, will also have on-site testing available at their school. Registration for this test must be completed beforehand, especially for those families interested in that on-site testing option, as space will be limited. The HSPT requires a $40 registration fee that is non-refundable. The HSPT may be taken only once during the admissions process. Parents can directly visit the HSPT website and pay that $40 fee, or call one of the parochial schools on your final list to register. Once your child has been registered, please send an email to your ops manager or to me with that test date. Lastly, the Independent School Entrance Exam, the ISEE. So many of our students have been required to take the ISEE when applying to Abbott Lawrence. However, this year, Abbott Lawrence will not require the ISEE. Students will have to take an assessment. More information will be available on the Abbott Lawrence webpage. If you are uncertain about what entrance exam a school on your list may accept or require, if any, I suggest you directly visit the high school's website for up-to-date information. Now, once your final list of schools has been submitted, we are encouraging families to begin scheduling interviews and tours, ideally for later in the fall. They book quickly, and it's best to do it now. Absences and tardies will be excused as long as ops managers have been informed of the scheduled interview and tour a few days in advance. We do ask parents to try to take advantage of days with no schools or half-a-days. We will also be sharing a calendar with all of our 8th grade families that will include the majority of high school application and financial aid deadlines. It's important that application deadlines are met. Normally, schools do not accept late applications. It's crucial that all documents requested for your financial aid applications are also submitted on time. So again, please try to fill out your taxes as soon as you can. Important upcoming deadlines. The first application deadline for CDCPS has already been shared with parents in our monthly high school update that went out at the start of October. This is regarding recommendation requests for parochial schools. So recommendation requests for parochial schools must be in by Friday, November 6th to our school. The majority of the high school applications are now online. You or the student will need to create an account, whether through SAO, the Standard Application Online, if applying to parochial schools such as Central Catholic, Bradford Christian, Academy of Notre Dame Tyngsboro, or directly through a school-specific application, such as the one Notre Dame Cristo Rey is using. Once you have created an account, you will see a section on that application itself pertaining to recommendations. You will type in the name of the staff you would like a recommendation from, and in that same section, you will be requested to type in an email address. You will type in your school-specific high school email address. So if you are a prospect parent, that email address will be prospectapplicant@cdcps.org. If your child is a student at Gateway, that email address is gatewayapplicants@cdcpsgateway.org. Or for Webster, you will use websterapplicants@cdcpswebster.org. Once again, you must create an account for those high schools on your list and request recommendations directly from the application platform that school will accept. Please make sure to review each application requirement before submitting requests to these emails. Once students have requested their parochial school recommendation, the following deadline will be to submit recommendation requests for independent schools. That will be due on November 27. Again, just as a reminder, these should be emailed to your school-specific high school email address and not directly to staff. Students can also begin to work on application essays. However, we recommend that students hold off from submitting high school applications. Towards the beginning of November, students will receive support on essay writing and will get feedback from teachers. It's important that students consistently continue to work on their essays outside of the application itself to avoid submitting the application or essay before it is finalized. So as a reminder, if applying to parochial schools such as Austin Prep, Notre Dame Cristo Rey, Central Catholic, Academy of Notre Dame Tyngsboro, St. John's Prep, parents are responsible for registering the student to take the HSPT. Parents can register online on the listed website or call Central Catholic, Notre Dame, or another parochial school directly to register. This slide also includes the websites where you can apply for financial aid. You'll notice that there are two links. One is specifically for the financial aid for parochial schools, the FACTS, tuitionaid.com. You will complete this once and add all the parochial schools you are applying to your application. The following link is for the financial aid application for independent schools. Schools will require that you set up an account to start applying or to get the recommendation forms. Check to see if they will accept common applications such as the Standard Application Online, SAO, or Gateway to Prep. Through these portals, the student will complete the standard forms and requirements just once and use them to apply to multiple schools. If applying to Central Catholic or Bradford Christian, we do recommend that all of our students apply through the SAO application. Students will create an account at the link listed below. So I understand that for many of our families, this will be the first time that you're requesting a recommendation for a high school. So I wanted to take a few minutes just to walk you through what this process would look like if you're using the standard application online. So once you follow the link that was provided in the previous slide, it will take you here and you want to register or log in. So if the student has already taken the SSAT, then they will already have a username and a password. If not, you can sign up and begin to create an account, to set up an account with the enrollment management. As you can see, I already have an account set up. So I will click on sign in. And to request a recommendation, you want to click on where you'll see apply to schools. So to get started, they will ask you to search a school by name. And we can start with Central Catholic High School. Here we go. So next school year for all of our students, that will be fall 2021. They're applying for grade 9. They will not be repeating a grade, and they're applying as a day student for Central Catholic. Now I'm going to add this school. And what you'll notice is that every school that you search by name will be added to the student's application. And on the right side, you'll see that there are school-specific items that are required for the student to complete to be able to fill this bar from 0% to 100%. So for Central Catholic, we can see the essays, and we can also see the recommendation request forms. To request any recommendation, you would just click on the request button. You would write the recommender's first name, their last name, and you will be using that applicant email address that was created for your school. So for instance, if I was requesting an ELA recommendation, I would write for prospect, it would be Terry Costello. And the email address I will use for him will be prospectapplicant@cdcps.org. So in the slides, I've shared the email address for Webster as well as the email address for Gateway that should be used to request any high school related request forms. Now to complete the transcript request, students will not be able to do this from their account, so parents will need to log in to their parent account and sign this release form. Other than this will be very similar steps that you will take even if you are using the Gateway to Prep application. So one other school that many of our students apply to that does not accept the standard application online is Notre Dame Cristo Rey. So I wanted to walk you through their online application. To be able to apply online, you will click on Admissions, How to Apply. As you can see, their application deadline is on December 11th. You can go down to step 2. So step 2, to be able to sign up for a virtual or a private in-person admissions event, you will have to start by creating an account with Notre Dame Cristo Rey. So most students will start by clicking the Apply Now button. I already have set up my account with Notre Dame, so I will click on Login. And it will take me to their application. We can see here that an admissions event with the school is required. The application itself, they require a birth certificate, tax documents, and here we have the English and math recommendation requirements. So for students to be able to request this, they will just go on View Edit. They will type in their own email address, and very similar to the process with SAO, they will then write in the teacher's name. And for an email address, they will use that applicant email address for their school. So once again, if it's for Webster, it would be websterapplicant@cdcpswebster.org, or if it's prospect, prospectapplicant@cdcps.org. And they'll be able to submit the recommendation request. We want to remind you, all students that this must be in by November 6th. And just as a quick note for parents, Notre Dame Cristo Rey is requiring that income tax documents be uploaded on this application. Please do not confuse this with the financial aid application that parents are required to fill out to be considered for financial aid to the school. So you will still want to follow and complete the FACTS application, which is a financial aid application that Notre Dame Cristo Rey accepts, even though they are requiring that that you upload your income tax documents to the student application as well. So what can you do now? As Ms. Santiago had mentioned, progress reports have gone out this week. It is extremely important for you to continue to communicate with school staff if there are any areas of concern. This month, you will also want to visit websites for the schools listed in your high school final list and register for those virtual sessions. There are some schools, such as Notre Dame Cristo Rey, that require that you participate in a virtual or in-person event as part of their application process. CDCPS will also be working with a few schools to set up virtual info sessions for CDCPS students. On October 28th, students applying to Abbott Lawrence will have an opportunity to participate in a virtual session with their principal. The following day, students will have an opportunity to meet with admissions representatives from Greater Lawrence Technical School. Once again, begin to start scheduling some of those interviews if required by any of the schools on your list for later in the fall. Ops managers must be informed at least 2 days in advance. I hope you have found this presentation to be helpful, but if there are any additional questions you may have or concerns that have not been addressed, please do not hesitate to reach out. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you continue to stay safe and healthy during this time.